Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be covering how to import your flat file dataset into a graph database, and specifically Neo4j's fully managed graph database as a service called AuraDB. So in order to do this, we're going to need some data, and what I've done is I've actually downloaded a data set from Kaggle.com, and this is a Netflix titles data set where we have a bunch of movies and TV shows, their corresponding, the title names and directors, cast, country where it's released in, so on and so forth. So this is a pretty exhaustive list of TV shows and movies. So why don't we go ahead and pull this into AuraDB and get started. Now, in order to do this, we are going to need to go to neo4j.com, head over to products here in the top menu, select AuraDB in the drop down. Let's get started for free. Now what it's doing is it's pulling up the console here, so we got to log in with our credentials. I'm going to go with single sign-on through Google. Now, once we're in the console, we're going to want to create a database. So let's go ahead and do that. We have two options to choose from. We have AuraDB Free and AuraDB Professional. Once we go down here, we're going to want to put in some of our database details. Let's go ahead and give it a name, Netflix, and choose our GCP region. Your mileage may vary, but you want to pick the region that's most closest to you. So in my case, it's Iowa. And once we have that, we can go ahead and create a database. Now our credentials are going to pop up here, and what we want to do is be sure to remember our username, Neo4j, not that hard to remember, but we also want to copy our generated password, and this is an auto-generated password that you're going to have to keep safe somewhere, and there's a little checkbox here that kind of assures that you will be saving this password in a safe location. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. But once you've done that, go ahead and hit continue. Now this is going to take a couple minutes for the database to spin up, but once it's up and running, there's a really easy way to get your data into AuraDB. It's by way of the data importer tool. So really excited about this. It really lowers the bar for a lot of data enthusiasts and even enterprise users and data scientists who would love to explore their data more with graph databases and really learning more about their data.
A few moments later.
All right, there we have it. We have a running database, as you can see. Once that's ready to go, you can see that the buttons here are now active. We can go ahead and import our data. All right, once we get into the data importer, we're gonna have this welcome menu, or this welcome screen here that kind of walks you through it. So we're gonna go ahead and click next. You can watch a sample tutorial on how to do it as well. In this case, let's get started. All right, so now we can go ahead over to our downloads folder, take our CSV file that we wanted to upload, and drop it into the data importer. Now, once that happens, you're going to see everything kind of populate here. These are the different columns that were in the data set. Now, the next thing that we want to do is build our graph model, which essentially illustrates how each of the various columns or nodes are then connected to each other and show the different relationships. In this case, we're going to keep it simple for this demo and show the titles and how they're connected to the directors, and then possibly the titles, how they're connected to the countries or where they're being distributed to. So once we add a node here, what we see is we have a dotted line. The dotted line around the node essentially means that there are some tasks that still need to be completed in order for it to be available to upload into Neo4j's database. So what we're going to do is give it a title first, or a label. We're going to label this one titles. And then we're going to select the Netflix titles.csv file is where we're going to be pulling information from, or pulling the various properties from. we're going to associate that to title, very simply, and then assign an ID. So our ID that we're going to assign it is title. Very simple. Let's go ahead and connect our director. We'll create a new node here for directors. The file here that we're going to be selecting is, of course, Netflix titles.csv. Let's add a property here. All right, we're going to confirm director was selected. Let's give it an ID. Directors, perfect. Now what we want to do is we want to reverse the direction of the relationship here, this arrow, because it's the directors that are directing the titles. So what we want to do is give that relationship type directed. There we go. And then once that's done, we select the file. Now we gotta pick the ID. So from directors, we are selecting director there. Titles simply is title, and then that's it. Once everything has been fulfilled, that dotted line turns solid, and then we're ready to move on. So another thing that we were talking about earlier was seeing where are these titles being distributed or accessible from. So we're going to give this node here a label of country. All right. Again, pick the file with the property of country. ID, assign it to country there, and then that dotted line turned into a solid, and then now we have the relationship here. Now we can say distributed. All right, so let's go with that. Select the files. We have Netflix titles. We'll pick where's it coming from. Titles is just title. 2 is country. All right, and there we go. So now that we've created our data model, everything is solid. There are no dotted lines here, which means that we can move on to simply running the import. So we go over to run import. The host field is filled in, the username is filled in, the password is exactly what we've copied over and stored in our secure location. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it. Now we're going to run it. And then up at the top here, we have a little status bar that kind of gives you some information on the progress.
12 seconds later.
All right, so once your data import is complete, it's going to give you a dialog box that tells you some of the stats of your data set that's been uploaded. It took about 11 seconds to upload and created some of 8,807 nodes. That was for titles. For directors, we have about 4,528 nodes, and so on and so forth, countries and whatnot. So it's we have about 6,173 relationships created, so that's really cool. So now once we've gotten everything imported into Neo4j, the next thing to do is really to explore the data. So you have a couple different options to choose from. You can go back into the Neo4j AuraDB console here. We can either explore the data through Neo4j's Bloom, which is a graph data visualization tool. We can go through Neo4j browser as well. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to go with Neo4j Bloom. All right, so once we're in Neo4j Bloom, we can then make a query for the titles for our database. We can query the country that the titles are distributed in. So let's go ahead and run that. All right. So from here, you can go ahead and just kind of explore the data that you've just queried. So for example, let's take a look at this one dot here. So of course that one is United States, and these are all of the movies being distributed in the United States, movies and TV shows. So it kind of shows you, and right now the graph is still settling, as you can tell. The animation is still kind of expanding, so it kind of gives everything some room. And then once it settles down, you can then kind of move across the canvas or the scene quite easily. So in India, there's a good number of titles as well there, but just wanted to kind of show you exactly, once your data is in Neo4j, there are so many things that you can do with it in terms of exploring the data and really understanding how your data are all connected and interconnected with each other. And finding the different relationships between each of the data, because those relationships really add a lot of context into what you're trying to solve and what you're trying to achieve, whether from a business perspective or from a research perspective and whatnot. So all right, well, that's it for today's demo. If you found this video helpful at all, please give this video a like or share with your colleagues, and anybody who's interested in graph databases or who wants to get started with graph databases, because the data importer is a super game changer in terms of getting your data loaded into a graph database. So until next time, see you later.